Oh, hi everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to a very exciting edition of Young Africa Connect. Today we have a very exciting lineup, and I am really excited for everyone who's here to introduce themselves, and we get right into the crux of our conversation. Just by way of introduction, my name is Kennedy Ekezie. I'm an entrepreneur from Nigeria. I am the founder and CEO of Kepa. And I also lead a social enterprise called Limitless Club. This is our first Young Africa Connect of 2025, and we are incredibly excited to have you back today. Like I said, we have an incredibly exciting crew today. We have a panel filled with five incredible people whose stories we'll be hearing about a little bit more. Today, in no particular order, we have Brenda Nyakwa, we have Rhoda Fletcher, we have Lorna Enau, we have Nzambi Mati, and Bedapose Joyce. I would love to read their bios, but I think it probably would be much more expedient for us to have them introduce themselves very briefly so we can actually hear from the horse's mouth what they're all about. And we'll get right into the conversation for today. Please remember that throughout the course of our conversation, feel free to leave questions, comments in the chat box, and we will try to attend to as many of the questions as possible. So we're really excited for today's conversation. Brenda, let's start with you. Why don't you give us a very quick introduction of yourself?
Thank you, Kennedy. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon from where you are. My name is Brenda Nyakwa. I'm the Senior Coordinator at the Airbell Impact Lab, and I support projects that are implementing EdTech solutions for communities that are affected by crises across Africa and other regions in the Global South. I am based in Nairobi, in Kenya. I am also a student of entrepreneurship and innovation at the University of Nairobi. So I'm really excited about today's topic because it's a very close one to my heart. I am a graduate of electrical engineering from the University of Nairobi. And over the past years, besides working in the EdTech space, I've also implemented programs that help youth to become better innovators and entrepreneurs through innovation boot camps and working with innovation hubs to provide access to resources that young entrepreneurs need. That's me, and I'm hoping to get more questions from you and to share my experiences and hope that they'll change your life as an entrepreneur or as an innovator. Thank you, Kennedy. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. We will definitely have so many questions for you today. Rhoda, let's take it over to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
All right, thank you very much, Kennedy. So my name is Rhoda Fletcher. I'm a Ghanaian and I have a background in procurement and supply chain management. Currently, I work with West Africa, where I am a senior programs associate. I have worked across projects supporting young girls and in STEM, supporting entrepreneurs, both financially and then supporting them with knowledge. So I will keep my short, and I know you know about Mr. already. So open for your questions as the conversation is helpful. Thank you.
Fantastic, Rhoda. We'll talk a little bit about your work in a bit. Lorna, let's take it over to you. Please tell us a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Kennedy. My name is Lorna Eno. I am the president of Afritech Hub, which is a nonprofit organization in Cameroon that seeks to empower the next generation of innovative and creative thinkers through STEM. Our programming mostly revolves around young women or young girls, young people in general, actually, with a focus on internally displaced persons because Cameroon has been going through some civil unrest since 2016. So the entire goal of our programming is to, one, make sure that internally displaced persons acquire skills that can make them reintegrate into society seamlessly and earn a living for themselves. Two, to empower younger children, teenagers, and even preteens with STEM-related skills with the hope that when they get into decision-making years of their lives, like in university, they end up choosing technology-related careers. The overall aim is to bridge the gender divide in STEM and also to increase the representations of Africans in the innovative market, especially because Africa hosts the youngest population in the world. So if we're talking innovation, we cannot talk about innovation without young people. I look forward to sharing my expertise during this panel with everyone. Thank you.
That's fantastic. And Zambi, tell us a little bit more about you and your work and why you do what you do.
Okay, thanks so much. Hi guys, my name is Nzambi Mate. I'm the founder of Jijenge Makers Limited, which is a for-profit company, manufacturing company located here in Nairobi, Kenya, and where we convert plastic waste and we convert it and manufacture building and agricultural products. In terms of my background, I'm a material scientist and engineer. That's my expertise. And for today, I think I'm just here to just chill and chat and just see what's happening in the streets.
Chill and chat. That's exactly what we're about today. And last but not the least, Barabose, tell us about what you do. Tell us a little bit more about you and why you started your work.
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here and for everyone who's joined us this call. My name is Verawose Aline, and I will be referred as Wose during this conversation. I'm from Rwanda in Kigali right now. And basically, I'm a women's health advocate. I'm a gender activist, and I'm also a femtech entrepreneur running my startup called Luna, which is a digital platform that allows women to access verified healthcare services and products that they need in their sexual reproductive health journey from period all the way into menopause. I'm very passionate today to dive into the conversation of the women's healthcare and the technology and young people and the different policy advocacy that needs to be done today, but most importantly on how we can drive community-driven decisions and solutions on the continent. And I also happen to be part of the team and the founder of a space called The Circle, which is a healing and wellness space here in Kigali, providing mental health services that was inspired originally on the intersection between sexual reproductive health and the mental health and psychosocial supports that women need. And I'm super excited. It's super hot today, so I'll try to be very comfortable, but yeah, excited for the conversation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to all our wonderful panelists. And of course, we can't begin without recognizing our wonderful sign language interpreter, Rosa Molo. As you all can tell, I'm just a young man who is blessed to be amongst these incredible women today. So I think I'm the most lucky person to be here. For those who might just be joining us, Young Africa Connect is a monthly series that's hosted by the MasterCard Foundation through the Young Africa Works Facebook and Instagram pages. So as you're participating in it, it's a virtual show that aims to inspire and engage and uplift young people on the continent and everywhere across the world, while amplifying the incredible work that they are doing across the continent. Essentially, we think of Young Africa Connect as a home. It's a home for young people on the continent where they can discuss issues and topics that are relevant to them, as well as receive the information and resources that they need to, as they strive to build dignified lives for themselves, their families, and their communities. And its efforts to build dignified lives for their families, themselves, and their communities, that's at the crux of the conversation today. So let's start with this. And Brenda, maybe we can start with you. What inspired you to embark on your journey as an entrepreneur? You could be doing many things with your life. Why did you decide to be an entrepreneur? What are some of the challenges you've faced, and why are you still doing this?
Thank you, Kennedy, for this question. As I mentioned, this is like a very interesting topic for me today. And I mentioned I've worked for the past 10 years, and throughout this journey, I've encountered so many entrepreneurs, young and old, and helping them build up their startups or providing mentorship through partnering with other technical mentors has really opened up my mind to see how, as Africa, with young Africans that are very energetic, we actually have the capability of solving problems that we experience daily in our communities. So that's the biggest inspiration for me, that we have that capability, we have the knowledge. It's just taking that bold step forward. It's not always easy, especially for me, that I come out and say, today I'm launching my company or my product and do it. It's very difficult, as many of you entrepreneurs know, and the dedication that is needed. But knowing that we have the power, we have the capability to solve our problems as Africa is the biggest motivation for me. And I think right now in the innovation space and with the ever-evolving technology, that we have the tools, we have the connections and the networks that we need, so we can do it, and that should keep us going, that let's do it together and collaborate to make our continent better. Thanks, Kennedy.
Yes. Thank you so much, Brenda. And Zambi, how about you? Why did you start your journey? What made you start your enterprise? And what are some of the significant challenges? Because it's also a complex, technical space you're in, and you're creating sustainable initiatives to not just preserve the environment, but also create economic livelihoods for people, who you work with and the communities that you work in. Why did you start your business? Was there a personal story? Why did you start your enterprise? And what are some of the challenges you face in Zambia?
Okay, thanks so much. The reason why I started Jijenge was to, number one, create a solution to plastic pollution that is practical, and it's practical in Africa. That's number one, because solutions we have right now as far as plastic is concerned, plastic waste is concerned, they were very ornamental and very aesthetic based. The other thing was, we all know young people, job creation in Africa and employment opportunities for Africa among the young people is a huge problem. And so those two things are what was driving me. And I truly believe that we as Africans, both young and old, it's our responsibility to take care of ourselves because we've been stifled with aid for a very long time. And so for that part, I decided, let me build a solution and let me build an enterprise that will not only focus in making change, but also be profitable. Therefore, it's sustainable, because sustainability is directly proportional to profitability. And so it's on this basis that, and also using my background in the materials world, that I started this. Now, fast forward, we've been doing this now for 8 years, but fast forward to this year in 2025, we've been able to create job opportunities for 250, mostly youths and women within our value chain. And this is on an everyday scenario. And at the same time, we are constantly recycling plastic. So up to now, we've done almost half a metric ton of plastic waste recycled. On the other end is we are also pushing for innovation, because I truly believe the continent of Africa is very innovative. Yes, we have the saying, necessity is the mother of inventions, and so we might as well use it on our end. And it's on that basis that we started making papers, and honestly speaking, not to blow our own horn or anything, but we actually have really good products. And so what's better than having a good product, providing jobs, and actually having fun doing it? So that's me.
Perfect trifecta. I want to drill down this topic of building initiatives that are sustainable, environmentally, socially, but also profitable. But Abose, I want your insight on this. You're building femtech products. What do you think? What are your thoughts on it? How have you seen this theme manifested in your work? Do you think it's something that's important? How do you apply some of these, principles of sustainability and profitability in the way you think about scaling your work over time?
Thank you so much. I think that it's obviously a very challenge to be able to build a solution that is both profitable and sustainable, especially in the spaces which I'm in. If anyone has ever, I think on this continent of Africa specifically, when it comes to sexual reproductive health, most of the solutions and the work that is being done by NGOs and non-for-profit. So when you create a solution, it's really hard to compete with NGOs, which is where I think that really finding your key parts of what type of innovation you're bringing into the space is key to what people would choose to pay you for. So you have to find a niche in which, what are people not really doing that I find very that would actually contribute and complement the work that is being done. And to my story in starting Runa, I think I really struggled in the beginning because I wanted to create this very big web platform that kind of like integrates all types of information and solution. And then when you bring it onto the market, you realize maybe you build too much bigger tech platform for people to use in the moment. So you need to stay very relevant to the communities you're serving. And we are only 2 years and a half. And I never really expected that 2 years down the line, we will be switching to apply hybrid model, which I always tell to my founders, or especially startup fellow co-founders, that you need to be very open-minded, because your solution is not just based on what you're really passionate about or what you think the right solution is. You need to be willing to take feedback from the people and the communities that you're working with. And a lot of times you're influenced by the common trends of like the Western world of being like, oh, we're building the next big tech platform. But one of the things I've learned as a founder in Rwanda, in Africa, one of the very developing countries, is that being a founder of a startup also means that you're a founder of a system. I found myself in spaces where, as a femtech entrepreneur, I was like, the femtech space is like, there's nobody, right? Even you're engaging the government institutions, and most of the issues, if it's they care about maternal health, but there's yet conversation to be had about menopause. There's yet conversations to be had about different women's conditions such as PCOS, endometriosis. And you're realizing that your contribution is not just bringing in innovation, you're a key player in all of these stakeholders to build the system from ground up. And that requires, like flexibility to adjust, that maybe you have this web big platform, but maybe what you need is, a physical agent that is close to people, that can engage with the people. And in terms of scalability and impact that you have to have, every message for innovator out there is focus on partnerships. So do not build or invent everything from scratch. Engage existing founders in the space, engage schools, engage government institutions, engage those NGOs and nonprofits. You find that people, especially founders, want to work a particular path in a very competitive way, where they're like, this is my thing and I want to do it better, I want to do that. But you're replicating effort and you're burning money, you're burning, etc. So expand and open it up and let some of the things go. If something is not really working, find other things. And especially as African, we need to focus on the common goal of how can we improve our systems? How can we solve difficult problems together? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the very comprehensive response. And, to piggyback off of what you said, I actually want to go to Rhoda. MEST Africa incubates and supports startups. And how important is this idea of sustainability and scalability from, a profit perspective? How important is that when it comes to selecting the startups you work with, when it comes to even the sort of support that you offer to them? Rhoda, can we turn to you?
Yes, thanks, Kennedy. But I think that first of all, if you do not believe in a startup or a tech entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, an innovator, I don't think we would even begin to deal with you. Sustainability is a very crucial conversation. We shouldn't, or we wouldn't like to support an innovator today, and then the impact will be far-reaching. The impact will be great on our continent or even in our country, and then we can't find this innovator again today or tomorrow. Like Barabosi, what a great job she's doing. If we are supporting an innovator like her, seeing the great impact in just 2.5 years she is creating, it would be sad to see, okay, we don't find this product in the market again. We don't find this business anymore. So when it comes to scalability and sustainability, these are key criteria we look at. Although we believe in entrepreneurs and we invest in people, also the person leading the startup or leading the company should be willing to look at the foreseeable future, or should be able to see that this innovation is sustainable enough, where we even support you in funding, right? So left to you alone as a startup, as a funder, or as an innovator, you have the idea, taking it to the market, it may be a challenge. Then you can't get into any of our programs, you get the funding. Also, for us to see the impact of the funding, we want to see the sustainability of what you're doing, at least in the next 3 to few years to come. If you are still searching for your business, will you be live? Will you be viable? Also, when it comes to equity funding, you want your investments to you want the payback period to be variable, or you want the investments you want to reap what you've invested in the business, right? So no investor across this continent or even across the globe will want to support a startup or an innovator whose business is not seen to be viable or scalable, because sustainability will see the long-term survival of the product or of the startup, and scalability will see the growth that you are proposing to any investor. So yes, once again, for us, these two key topical issues, sustainability and scalability, is very critical to us when we are dealing with entrepreneurs or startups. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So I imagine if there are any entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs who are watching, this conversation right now, the consensus amongst everyone here is, while you're trying to build a product, a non-profit, a social enterprise that does good in your community and on the continent, thinking about how it sustains, thinking about not just today, but how it goes 10 years from now, and building in business models that allows it to sustain is a very important part of that process. And so you shouldn't skimp on the process. That's what we've had so far. I'm going to turn to you, Lorna. You are the co-founder of the Afritech Hub. And one of the things you do is, of course, advocating for especially young women and girls, building a pipeline for them into STEM. What role do you think women and girls play in shaping Africa's future through STEM? What steps can we take to, encourage more participation? Do you think there's enough participation? Do you think we need more women and girls? And if yes, then what steps can we take to build more pipelines for them to come in the funnel?
Thank you, Kenneth, for that question. Kennedy, first of all, I would say that, there's a lot of conversation being had about increasing the representation of Africans in the global STEM market. You have a lot of foreign companies coming to outsource talent here, and it's for a reason. But you cannot talk about increasing the number of Africans in technology or innovation related fields without talking about women, because women are inherently part of the young people of Africa. I think that there's some work being done. I'll not say that steps haven't been taken already, but I think that we can do more. And in my time at Afritech Hub, because our programs were we had very close interactions with the people that were part of our programs, especially the programs that had to do with children. It means that we interacted a lot with their parents. And I would say that one thing that I noticed is that you have to get the confidence of a parent to be able to let their child spend time, partaking in your program, especially when you're talking about maybe after school programs or programs that probably have to transport them from point A to point B. Point A, maybe their school or their homes, and then maybe you're taking them for a competition somewhere. Their parents have to have trust that their children will be safe with you. But not only that, they also have to understand the reason why their children are doing the things they are doing. So I think that much of the work has to trickle down to the community. We have to talk, we have to have conversations amongst ourselves in our families, with our friends, with our uncles, our aunties, and say, look, the world is changing. These children, we have to start investing in them young if we want them to be likely to take this particular path when they grow up. I think that when you teach a child while they're young, they're very likely to, continue with that teaching when they're older. So I think that investing in children when they're a lot younger is one step that we can take towards increasing the representation of girls in STEM. And this is also very important, especially in communities where education for women is not a priority. we have some regions in Cameroon that are like that, where, you know, some parents could do the barest minimum to just send their children to primary and secondary school, but every other thing, after school, STEM clubs and all of that, are just like, no, she should probably do the dishes at home or something like that. So that's why I think community is very important in co-creating our solutions. Everything trickles down to that. Okay.
Kennedy, I have a burning point to add to what Lorna
Of
has
course, please.
well
I was going to
articulated.
come back to you. Yes.
All right. Do I
Go
go
on
ahead?
ahead, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So I wanted to add that I think another big role that women and girls play is putting their perspective into the products that we design. For example, we've seen in the past that someone comes to the market with a product for like feminine product, but it was designed by men. So I think as women and girls, we also have opinions, we have input that is critical in designing these products, whether they are directly meant for women or educational products, because our perspective matters. And we should always consult, as Lorna rightfully said, at the community level, consult with women and girls when we're designing these products, so that, for example, I imagine, Jose, as you're designing your Femitech products, you have a lot of conversations with women and have them give you feedback that helps you to iterate your products and make them better for that community. So I think that's a critical role for women and girls in the communities. And as we are designing products as innovators and entrepreneurs, it's very critical that we involve them in those conversations. Back to you, Kennedy.
Kennedy, permit me to also add my voice to the top question. I also worked on a project where we were encouraging junior high school level students to participate in STEM programming. And I think a way that women can support this, or when we worked on this program, we had women or adults who are in STEM. We had professors in engineering. We had people who are doing innovative work in STEM to come on board to mentor the students. And then it was exciting to know that some teachers were even willing or interested in getting the mentorship that was meant for the students for themselves. And I think when we brought them on board, or when we continue to bring women who have gotten to the ladder where it is a bit steep, encouraging the younger ones, parents who continue to also have interest and then faith, as Lorna said. If my parents and my child is speaking to a professor in STEM, I think that would also give me the confidence to believe in the program that is implemented for my child's benefit. So that's what I wanted to ask you. Back to you, Ken. Thank you.
That's, yeah, incredibly wonderful input here. And it even feeds into, you know, or drawing from some of the things you all have spoken about. I wanted to ask, you know, what has worked for you all? I mean, you all are incredibly competent, you know, women who have gotten not just education, but have taken that to, you know, create things that impact other people. Maybe I'll start with you in Zambia. What specific support systems, what resources have been instrumental to your success? You know, you're very technically competent, you have engineering expertise, but you know, you're also using all of that for good in the world. What worked for you? And how can other people access some of the resources that you got the opportunity to access?
Okay, so I think I'll package that into three elements: social, resource, economic, and a personal human resource. So starting with human resource, it actually starts with the people around you. So I got a lot of support from the people around me, powered by a lot of allies who are male. Like most of my mentors, my technical supporters, even because the construction industry is a very male-dominated industry, and also the manufacturing industry is super male-dominated. And so I have been fortunate enough to collaborate with a lot of male supporters to be able to build me both technically and in terms of know-how to reach where they are. So as I say, if you want to go far, you go. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with people. Now, in terms of economic support, yes, just to reiterate and to build on what Rhoda said, there's a lot of support for entrepreneurs outside in form of incubations and acceleration programs. They are there enormously, but for me, what drives me is actually making change that makes economic sense. That for me has always been a number one solution. With or without any support, the solution I was building had to make economic sense. And so the first funding I actually got was sales. So in addition to the capex, outside the capex that I bootstrapped, the first funding I actually got was sales, and it's on that basis that actually made me understand that a business is as good as sales, and the best type of finance for a business is sales. And then on the element of social front is the I count it very fortunate to actually launch the product in Nairobi. And as you know, Nairobi is like the center when it comes to climate tech. And so this has been able to provide a very smooth sail entry point into the market. And so to test the product into the market in different forces. And this has enabled us to iterate very fast. And so by iterating, we've now, like the machinery, the technology, the product, everything we're able to develop in-house just because of that. And I have a lot to thank for COVID. COVID actually did the best thing ever. It shut down our dependency on other countries and other nationalities and made us think. Let's think, what do we have here and what can we build with what we have here? And so those are the three elements. I think I answered, I hope.
We have some questions coming in, and I want to encourage everyone, please, continue to share your questions in the chat. We'll of course go through them. But there's a striking question here that's relevant to what we just spoke about, and it's from Bolton. I would love to hear from any of the speakers this afternoon on how to turn a non-profit into a business. Is there anyone who has had any experience turning a not-for-profit into a business? Or anyone who wants to share, please kind of mute your mics and share. How do you turn a non-profit to a business? Lorna, you unmuted your mic, so.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the non-glamorous parts. I think that in general, whether non-profit or business or everything, that you have to be ready to fail, and you have to fail fast so that you can learn fast. The other thing I'm going to mention is the fact that you have to be ready to reiterate, like try and try again. Usually the first idea you have may not work, but pick up your lessons and then try again. Depending on what country you're in and what the laws look like, I think that there are different ways that you can go about it. For me, because I've been into STEM education and all of that, the easiest way for turning that into a for-profit or like a social enterprise was to go the vocational route, where you can provide vocational training to young people, almost like a school, like a boot camp, or like a school or whatever, but where people pay a certain fee, you register for the program over a certain amount of time, and then you're guaranteed knowledge, but we have like coaching services where we help you take professional exams to get professional certificates and things like that. So I think that if you're in this part of the NGO sector, maybe this is one way that you can go about it. In Cameroon, when you're going the vocational route, it's relatively less expensive, because I'm assuming that when you're transitioning from non-profit to a business, you don't have that much capital. So when you're going through the vocational route, it's relatively less expensive, because schools here don't pay tax. And as a vocational training institute, you're considered a school, so you don't pay tax. So that's one way that you should go about it. But one thing I will say is that you should talk to relevant professionals, like especially tax officers or tax lawyers. So I think that they have like the best advice. I started talking with a regular business lawyer, and they gave me good advice, don't get me wrong, but I felt like when I talked to the tax people, they knew better how to navigate having in mind your budget. The other thing is that you should have a clear product that you're trying to sell. So now whether your product could be a service as well. The product should be very clear, because that helps in marketing it, and not just in marketing it, but also in reaching your target audience. Because one thing you don't want is to have to be ready to launch something, or to even launch a product, and then before you know it, nobody's buying. The last thing I'm going to mention is product market fit, because sometimes you have the idea, but what you're thinking about, what you think is a need to people in your community, the community doesn't actually think about it as a problem or as if they need that thing. People go around it by saying that they create a need for the product, but in my opinion, it's a lot more work. I think that you can go about it by getting the inputs of the people in your community. Is this something that you would want? How is it going to be beneficial to you? Then based on what they say, you can now iterate your product in a way that it fits the community that you're targeting. Again, that comes back to my initial point of co-creation. I think that to create sustainable products, you have to co-create with the communities that the products are meant for. Thank you.
And just to add on that,
yes, please,
Kennedy,
Zabi, go ahead.
I think we in Africa, of course, due to lack of very abundant resources, we're very averse to risk, and we're very averse to trying things. And just as Lena said, trial and error, that's what has built the developing worlds to what they are, because they've tried the same thing so many times and iterated it to find the best solution. Because I will not lie to you, there's absolute no way you'll start a business or launch a product and on the first go like this, you get it, you get the market, it never works like that. It takes time. And so for Africa, my approach is always fail fast and fail cheaply. So try iteration, do many iterations and do them in small scale so that you fail fast and fail cheaply, get all the learnings. And once you get the learnings, then scale up. In addition to moving, like how to do the transition from a nonprofit to for-profit, I think and I truly believe that social enterprise is actually marrying both elements. So there's an element of the nonprofit that the nonprofit has to pay that within the social enterprise, and there's a for-profit element that has to play. So within, for example, within our model, we have a nonprofit element where the plastic collection, the community engagement, the training, the pre-processing, all that is run by a nonprofit, our nonprofit arm. And so this plastic is sold to the for-profit arm. So therefore the nonprofit sustains itself through revenue. And then the for-profit then produces a product and sells it for profit. And so it's by us marrying these two models, because it doesn't mean that the nonprofit is bad and the for-profit is good. No, it depends on the application.
Thank you so much, Nzambi. Thank you wow. I feel like I'm getting a master class here. But we have another question from Lily Dale. And Barabose and Rhoda, I actually want to throw this to you. And it draws from what we've been talking about. Funding remains a key issue for many young innovators, especially in Africa. What advice do you have for those who are seeking investment or grants? And this is from Lily. Barabose, do you have any experience, with struggling with raising funding or successfully doing so? How did that process go for you? Rhoda, I know at MEST you all support and incubate startups. I assume you also write them checks. So we have the treasurer in the room today. So I'm looking forward to getting your insights on this. But let's start with you, Barabose.
Thank you so much. I wish if I have actually a miracle answer, we could all, dive into together. But it's a hard one to crack. But because when we talk about challenges of all of that, the funding is actually a huge burden and hindrance of how we see less women entrepreneurs, less women businesses that are, succeeding because we receive less funding. However, what has helped so far is grants, right? So you need to be on the lookout and be very aggressive on the grants and funding that are available, especially the ones, obviously from different incubation and acceleration that are targeting women. And this is also, like when we talk about initial capital, community fundraising, women have huge challenges when it comes to that, because your community is also women who are probably going through the same issues as you are, and you do not have access. We talk a lot in the female founders group where that I belong to, in the fact that we need more the version of men's club, like women's club, where you can just go play golf and, you work out for them the golf trainings with, funding already. Because, there's so many barriers and blockages for women fundraising that you do not have access, you do not have the information. You're just not in the spaces where money is. But the encouragement is always like, I want women to be more aggressive with seeking and demanding and having that type of audacity to actually go and ask, even in the places where you don't feel like we have tendency to like question ourselves. Maybe, I'm doing this kind of small thing and it's like a woman thing. And, the founder is looking for big businesses and big things. Me personally, I spend a year and attending different programs and trainings and all of it. And I felt like I was just overtrained and there was not money coming in. And the same, male founders that were working together with the same solution, they're like, I just raised $500,000. And I'm like, who gave you $500,000 for your solution? I mean, like, so I started, like being just very aggressive in finding the spaces where the money is and insisting that I have to be there. But the last thing that is not really easy to do is that you need to find foundations and other women as well who have money. Like it's been easy for me to find like what are the grants and acceleration and things that are laid by women. This is why the key of underrepresentations basically duplicates to all of these challenges that you do. I'm in a women's health, and you will not believe, you will think I'm in like a woman's world, but most of the women healthcare professionals that I work with are men. Most of the founders are men. Most of the people who develop the solutions are men. And all of these things play a huge key in like, what type of solutions that I'm putting there and what type of issues that are there. So, and the talk about women's empowerment and women funding, you find that most people are like, oh, how did you miss funding? Because there's so many fundings out there for women. And I'm like, it's not true. It's a big lie, because when you look at the biggest scale of like how much funding is actually going to women, and especially that women are more likely to have funding when they're co-founders with men. Sorry, basically, I know I am supposed to give solutions and now I'm focusing on the downside because that is just the reality of being a female founder. But yeah, it's just, I really want women to start being more aggressive. And we need, even for our stakeholders who care about women empowerment, to enforce and focus more on also distracting and breaking the system in which we bring women into, because a lot of founders are willing to provide a training for women and they walk away with no single seed funding and all of it. And what do you expect to this woman? Basically, you have trained to start their businesses with that money. So yeah, I mean, it's aggressivity, it's radical changes, the transformation. But yeah, whatever that we can do for ourselves to seek these fundings, let's do it. I hope that kind of like sheds light on the whole of the situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for that. But Rhoda, how do we get access to the money?
Well, for me, I personally say, and I think I agree with Zambi saying that sales is the should be your backbone of your business. But I also understand that as innovators or as entrepreneurs, sometimes you need that boost. One problem I have with entrepreneurs or startups people I call pitchpreneurs. Like they run from one program to the other to the other, looking for funding, and you see no business. Excuse me, like I have to be blunt on this. You see them in every single grant funding program. Hello, do something to show what you're doing, and then let people have confidence in you. Because these are some of the problems I see startups make it, and the mistakes they make that creates problem for some people. Assuming, right, you've been in a program that I am on, you've been in a program where Lona is on, and we see nothing. If I should see you somewhere else, how do you expect me to be confident in your product? Let's take it back to scalability and sustainability of the businesses. So I personally believe that, yes, be sure to have a compelling product with a strong user value proposition, right? And then also be sure to make use of what you get from the list of your funding. Like as Zambi said rightly again, you start small, you fail so that it's less costly, then you propel your solution to the higher pitch. But you don't start always looking for grants, looking for funding, looking for what? Whoever is invested in you will definitely want to be concerned about the sustainability and the scalability of the product or your business. So, in as much as you're crying, there's no funding. I also, on the other side, believe that there's a lot of funding going on in the system. I mean, I keep saying that if for nothing at all, our generation is one that is blessed with a lot of opportunities. So you just have to also, like Barabosi said, look at the right places. What solution are you proposing, or what's your business? Find those investors or grant funding programs that align with what you're doing. For example, you're doing something in climate change. We know that climate change is a big topic right now. What do? You find the right information to align yourself with programs that are funded climate change programs or startups, right? So you have to do your research. You have to also be sure to show working or prove what you're doing when you get the funding. Let us have confidence in you as a startup. When we see you on another program, we don't see you are here to shop for grants. All right. So that's the least I can add to it. Thank you.
Kennedy, I must add to this point. Sorry, Zambi.
Yes,
It's,
please,
I
please.
had the same exact thought on there are companies or startups who will be in every incubator, every accelerator when you go to meetings. So as entrepreneurs out here, let's challenge ourselves to actually be willing to do the difficult work. We've been given resources by people who have trusted you and have believed in your product. So don't take advantage of that. And like the grants will not sustain your operations for so long. Like be willing to use the resources that you've been given and maximize on the networks and actually use those tools to build your product. Because, and I'm saying this because I know for most of us Africans, our entry to market is through these incubators. So let's be careful not to build that reputation where now funders are pulling out because you are always applying for this seed funding through different grant programs or incubators. Zambi, I hope.
We have something to add on that.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Barbosa,
Yes,
1 minute. I'm sorry. This I have to say. This is just it's
We'll
aching.
go to Zambia and then we'll come back to Barabosa, please.
Okay, guys. The applications, people who actually do the work write very shitty applications, and so they never go through. The people who have time to write good applications, and that's why you're Rhoda. You see the same people first time because they have time to write good applications. Number one, and so the work is for the incubators and the grant writers to actually find a different mechanism to sift between the people who actually do the work and the people who are just good grant writers and conference bringers. Number one. Number two. Let us not, I'm not being a devil's advocate, but funding in Africa it's money that is coming outside, coming in, interesting conditions. And so, yes, funding women sounds nice. It's good PR, but I can tell you for a fact that no one actually wants to take the risk to actually fund a woman-led company, especially a single woman-led company. This take it from me, take it from me. So this has been my strategy. Instead of complaining, let's find a solution. So number one, build a really good business model that it's so good that the funders can't ignore you. But before you do that, you have to start somewhere. And so if you can get these good grants, well and good. But these grants don't come to, especially for a local Black African, these grants don't come easily to you. And so the next step for me, my strategy has been the way Bose has said, be very loud and audacious about selling your work. Just blow your own horn so that at the end of the day, you become so big that once again, you can't be ignored. And then you're considered valid. So, ladies and gentlemen, do not be lied to. The funding out here, it is very number one, color coded. Number two, it is not easy to get. I'll not lie. I've done that 100 times, but build a solution. If you're not good at writing applications, get someone to do that for you.
Kennedy, permit me to ask something to what Davi just said, right? The point is, if you are looking for a job, right, you are most likely not there. Your CV speaks for you. So you are doing the work. Show in your application you are doing the work. If not, it will be unfortunate that the people who, quote unquote, are not doing anything will be the ones you always see in these programs. So I agree with you on your last point, Zambi. If you can't write it, seek help. I think we can't do it all alone. I will say entrepreneurs, you do it all alone, but sometimes you need help. Fall on a mentor, fall on a team member to support in what you are putting across. Because believe you me, a lot of applications may come through a program, and sitting down to look through data is a lot of work. So you are as well will be looking at for certain things. And if I'm seeing certain things that I am looking for an entrepreneur or for an innovator to be qualified for a certain program, it's safe to say that do your homework as you are doing the work. And most importantly, do the work and let your product sell you out. I think sales should, as much as possible, should be your greatest target of revenue as an entrepreneur. But if you are fortunate to find yourself to apply for these programs, make sure that you are putting your best foot forward. And when you get the grant funding, you are also doing the work. So back to you, Kennedy.
Yeah, thanks for that. Sorry, Barabose, so we're going to come back to you.
I was wondering if I
Yes.
could add something to that.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, but Barabose was supposed to go. Did you want to go still?
Yeah, no, yes. I think the thing that I think I think there are realities about women founders. Number one is that women in general, this is just facts, we take more social responsibilities, even in our businesses, than men do. That's number one. So two is that when it comes to social enterprises, and I hope it also answers to someone who asked, how do you turn a social enterprise into more profitable businesses? Is that social enterprises are structured very differently. It's different from someone who's building just simple fintech solutions. Like you find the nature of men businesses and women businesses very different. And this is just a generalization of how it works, not meaning that women are not doing, like hard businesses and etc. But social enterprises, as we mentioned, a lot of investments and things will go into building the structures, education, etc., that you find that the social responsibilities require patient funding that is very different from just someone who's giving you, like, let me give you $10,000, $50,000 and I expect you to return it immediately in the next 1 year runaway. These are realities that people, both sides, need to come to understanding. Third is that obviously there's a big problem around entrepreneurs where you would find a lot of us would apply for one fund into the other. Two things that leads to that is that, yes, because a lot of fundings that are also there are very restricted. And also by restricted funding, it also means that most of us are implementing fundings due to the higher power of like what this person expects you to do. So, and which is a message I always talk to founders. Do not get distracted by any money that comes your way, that you have to follow this money, because you've spent 1 year, 2 years, 3 years as a sort of like a puppet of the development money around as a funding, which is why you insist that you always have to remind yourself community-driven decisions. And that's the journey in which it looks like. Now, how do you come to the sustainability part of it? People envision it just because you have a particular problem. Immediately, people are willing to pay for it. The realities of what I have learned is that to figure out a working sustainable model for a social big problem is a very long, tedious, painful, dramatic process. And the power dynamics between founders and funders, we do not come to agree to that because each one thinks that one or the other is taking advantage of it. I will give an example. When I started Luna, immediately I was like, women lack safe spaces. I'm willing to build a web platform in which women can be safe in order to ask these particular questions. But regardless of how big the problem is, that because this is a stigmatized conversation, women do not have the money to just simply pay for particular safety. You ask your question mark. You look at, even in the West, people who are developing big advanced solutions to help women deal with PCOS, endometriosis, the clients you're serving to and providing value to, they're like, why should I pay extra money because I'm a woman in existing healthcare system? So you realize maybe the person who can pay me this is probably a government or insurance or etc. And all of those people are not willing to take extra cost, right? So it's a process. We're talking about the timeline here. Think about how long that would require you to actually figure out a model of who's going to pay for these services. How many changes do I have to change that? You need a patient funder. Either most of the time it's a foundation or an angel investor who's willing to walk you through the process because you believe in the common goal. You find that a lot of founders, when you talk to some of the founders or VCs, is that's how startups die, because you have a person whose intentions is like, how can you make me more money? Not the common founders are, how are we willing to come together to solve this problem? So I think it's a very compounded big problem, obviously, that requires also a very compounded issue. But we need to be very patient in analyzing the situation and being very contemptuous on the realities of startup and entrepreneurship in Africa. There's a lot of work where, especially when it comes to women founders, people are expecting them to take social responsibilities on top of the burden of what is already the responsibilities that women have to take on, especially by NGOs, by, for example, not being the woman being paid by the funds. And I'm like, this never really happens in other scenarios. So I just wanted to point that out, that the power dynamics needs to be addressed, and especially with the funding and restricted funding and controlled funding.
Thank you so much, Rebel. Thank you so much. Thanks to the audience, thanks to everyone who has sent in very thought-provoking questions. I think we'd all agree that we've had such an engaging conversation so far. We're almost at mark, and I want to invite all of you, all our wonderful panelists, to share a parting shot, as it were. Looking ahead, what trends, what emerging sectors do you see as the next big opportunities for African young entrepreneurs? Please, 20 seconds for each person. Let's start with you, Brenda.
Thanks, Kennedy. I think that technology is continuously going to be disruptive, whether it's AI, whether it's quantum computing, and so I call upon all entrepreneurs in Africa, let's find a way to use these resources to bring the change that we want to see in our communities.
Well, thank you so much, Brenda. Rhoda?
I also believe that whatever innovation you want to build, also just look within your community. And I think that in as much as we are looking out for what scale is or what industry is growing, look within you. Also put yourself in the right place. Build on your attitude as an entrepreneur even before you look out for what industry is growing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rhoda. Lorna?
This is going to be a bit ironic based on the field I'm in, but as far as trends are concerned, I think that the creative economy is one thing that is really is going to grow a lot. It has already grown a lot, but it's only going to grow a lot bigger in the coming years, and that directly impacts every other economy, because technical skills can be learned from school, soft skills, unfortunately not. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lorna. Zambi?
So in addition to what Brenda said, in addition to tech, also being in the waste industry, I truly believe the waste industry will soon come to be, in the next 100 years, the new mining sector, because at some point in time, we have to reuse whatever resource we have. And then the final parting shot is there's this fallacy of small businesses in Africa that needs to die. We need to find a solution that can solve the biggest problem in Africa and create the biggest profit and scale.
Thank you so much, Nzambi. And finally, Berabose?
I will focus on the emerging trends on the femtech. So the industry is rapidly very growing, and think beyond maternal health, probably menopause, mental health, and AI-driven telehealth, telemedicine, wearables, and again, lastly, community-driven solutions that you can bring health solutions to the people closest to them. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all our wonderful panelists. Thank you so much, Rose. For everyone who tuned in, we hope this has been an engaging hour of conversation. We do this very often, so please make sure to subscribe to whatever channel you're watching this on. Feel free to share this video with anyone who wasn't able to catch it. We've loved spending time with you today, and we look forward to seeing you on other editions of the show. Have a very wonderful afternoon. We hope that you take all the learnings from this show, and you apply it in your work. For those of you who want to get started but have questions that you had, I hope some of those questions were answered today, and all our hands are on the plow to build a continent that we all want to see and want to be a part of in the next 50 years. Thank you and have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.